him a hip and thigh with a great slaughter. At this time, he'd killed more people by himself than even, I can't think of who I'm thinking about. One that went, Gideon. Gideon was 450, Brother Mark, to 1. He killed 1,000 men by himself. But see, he got to thinking that he was great in his own eyes. Never give God credit. It says, and he went down and dwelled in the top of the rock of Etam. And the Philistines went up and pitched in Judah and spread themselves in Elam. And the men of Judah said, why are you come up against us? Why have you come up against us? The Philistines explained that they had enough of Samson, and they planned to take him prisoner to do with him as he done to us. We're going to do just exactly to him. We're going to slaughter him just like he did us. He slaughtered 1,000 of us. We're going to do him the same way when we get him. It says, and they answered to bind Samson, and we come up to do to him as he had done to us. Then 3,000 men of Judah went to the top of the rock of Etam and said to Samson, knowest that not that the Philistines are ruler over us? Don't you know that they're the ruler over us? You know, that's the way that we get sometimes, that we let the enemy think he's the ruler over us. Maybe if they had the grain and stuff. A lot of times we don't realize that the Philistines are rulers over us. That's the enemy. That's our enemy. The Philistines was our enemy. Instead of them taking and going to Samson and getting the army together and helping him fight the Philistines off, they were for the Philistines. They got 3,000 men together to bind him up. In Judges 8 and 23, or 8 and 23. It says in 8 and 23, starting at 22, it says, and the men of Israel said unto Gideon. So he defeated the Midianites. They wanted him to be the king over them. It says, the men of Israel said unto Gideon, rule thou over us, because you are a great man. He said, both thou and thy son and thy son's son also, for thou hast delivered us from the hand of the Midian. And Gideon said unto them, I will not rule over you. I don't want to do this. That's exactly what God sent Samson to do, is deliver Israel out of the hands of the Philistines. But instead of them saying, yeah, they're not going to take you, we're going to fight to win. No, he says, hey, they're rule over us. The enemy's our ruler. Instead of saying, devil, you're not going to rule over us. A lot of times we accept what the enemy's doing to us. We accept it. And God said, hey, I'm a God for you. No, I'd rather the devil rule over me. I'd rather do what the world wants me to do, as God tell me. But they told Gideon, we want you to rule over us. And Gideon said unto them, I will not rule over you, neither shall my sons rule over you, but the Lord shall rule over you. That's all Israel had to do, was say, no, Samson, you're right. We're getting tired of the Philistines ruling over us. We're getting tired of them running over us. We're for you. We're going to help you. But no, what did they do? They came to get Samson themselves. So no, we're going to, in other words, it says, then 3,000 men of Judah went to the top of the rock and said to Samson, knowest that not the Philistines are ruler over us? What is this that thou hast done unto them? And he said unto them, as they did unto me, so have I done unto them. I done exactly what they done to me. But who started this chain reaction? He started going down. He shouldn't even went to the Philistines. That was against God's will from the start. And when it started, from the very first chapter, that was against God's will. He was a Nazarite. He should have never even took on the unbeliever. A lot of times we let ourselves slip right into that. Oh, you know, this thing that I see, this worldly stuff that I see is a pleasure unto me. He said, no, stay away from it. And then one thing just leads on to another. That's how he got himself from the very first time he went down and said, Daddy, I need this woman. This woman looked into me. You know what it says? Bring her, in other words, unto me. I say, hey, it's pleasing to the eye. This thing that the eye sees, I need it. I need it, Lord. I need it. A lot of times we even pray for the things that we don't need, thinking God will answer it. And that's how Samson got himself into it. And they said unto him, we are come down to bind thee, that they may deliver thee into the hands of the Philistines. And Samson said unto them, swear unto me. So he didn't even believe his own people. He didn't have trust in his own people. He said, swear unto me that thou wilt not fall upon me yourself. Don't you know that he knew that they know where his weakness lied? In other words, don't you do me harm, because you are my people. But they still yet, at this point, one must back away from the story in the matter. Did the Judah rally around God's choice of a judge? Did they really rally around him and support him? Or did they decided high time that God was going to deliver them like he said he would? No, they didn't. Judah was more interested in fighting. They wouldn't even get enough people to fight them, but Judah could not rally even an army to challenge the Philistines at this time. So, but all this, revenge just absorbs. It just keeps continuing on and on. And they spake unto him, saying, no, but we will bind thee fast and deliver thee into the hands. But surely we will not kill thee. And they bound him with 2 new cords and brought him up from the rock. And when he came up into the left, the Philistines shouted against him, and the Spirit of the Lord came upon him mightily. And the cords were upon his arms became as flax that was burnt with fire, and his bands loosened from his hands. And he found a new jawbone of an ass, and put forth his hand, and took it, and slew 1,000 men with them. And Samson said, with the jawbone of an ass, heaps upon heaps with the jawbone of an ass have I. That's why the Bible says that. I've heard it preached many times. When you hear somebody say, I, look what I. The man says, I will tear down barns and build new upon. I will do this. He says, I have killed many thousands. Never, Brother Mark, recognizing God. Never knowing that God had gave him the glory, had ordained him from his mother's womb. She, from the very first time we started the story, God says, you're going to have a son, and he shall be a Nazarite, to deliver my people out of the hands of the Philistines. But the whole time he kept saying, I done this. I have slain. I have done this. And he says, I slain 1,000 men. But it came to pass when he made the end of speaking, and he cast away the jawbone out of his hand and called that place, in other words, it means the jawbone. And he was sore thirsty. Now here's where he calls upon God, because he thinks he's going to die. He thinks he was exhausted. He was mentally exhausted after fighting. So he thinks, Lord, are you going to let me die like this? And he called on the Lord and said, thou hast given this great deliverance into the hand of thy servant. You've given this. So he started recognizing God. And thy servant, and now shall I die for thirst and fall into the hands of the uncircumcised? So God had mercy, Brother Mark, on him, just like he does us. He had mercy, so he had water to come out of the rock for him. But Samson never recognized God. Just whenever he really needed God's only time. He never realized. You can do his. I don't believe that Samson come out and look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't think that he come out and look like Lou Ferrigno. A lot of times that we get these pictures in our minds sometimes that he come out and he probably had 30-inch arms and all this. Well, Brother Mark, we could tell. If we see a man like that, we'd have said, man, he's stout. But he was only by God. I can look at you, Brother Mark, and I'd never know what power that you have in God by just looking at you until the power comes upon you. If you just come up to me and say, brother, I know what you've been through, I'd probably do, I get it.